Sweet, new video game? Whoa.
About a year ago, I did a review on Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension, a strange live-action TV show from 2002 that was based on a failed action figure toy line created by LEGO. Yes, that LEGO. You know, the company that makes building blocks? First there were the ugly toys, then the odd CGI-heavy TV show. Obviously, the next logical step would be to create a video game adaptation, right? Wait, there were 2 games based on this franchise? That's just baffling to me. Like, why on earth did LEGO invest so much time and effort into pushing this IP?
There's nothing here!
So yeah, there's a fully 3D version of Galidor, Defenders of the Outer Dimension, that released for PC, and was supposed to be released for PS2 and GameCube as well, though those ports never actually saw the light of day. We were also blessed enough to get a handheld version of the game for the Game Boy Advance, which is what I'll be talking about today. Now before we dive into Galidor for the GBA, I should probably state that I am in no way a Galidor superfan, so you'll have to forgive me if I butcher the lore at any point in this review. Also, if you want a little more context as to what Galidor actually is, I'd recommend watching my review of the pilot episode of the TV show, since it may help you understand what the f*** is actually going on here. Then again, it may not. The game opens with Nick Bluetooth cruising through Galidor on the iconic egg ship from the show with his freaky pals, trying to evade a swarm of doges. Boges that force Nick to make a crash landing. Thankfully, no one is seriously injured, and they all just kinda decide to stand outside for some reason, giving us the perfect opportunity to compare the character sprites to their real-life counterparts. To be honest, they look decent enough. I mean, Allegra looks like she's about to sneeze, as she should. But then there's Nick, who doesn't look quite right. He's missing something. Where's that famous Bluetooth smirk? Shit quickly hits the fans as the Boges close in on the group, and Nick just proceeds to walk back and forth helplessly as the flying minions of Gorm just pick off his friends one by one. Like, does he even care at all? He's clearly not putting in much effort here. This intro sequence actually drags on quite a bit since it's needlessly long and dialogue heavy, but I do have to say it's pretty hilarious to see how little of a f*** Nick gives. Boy, I sure can't wait to play as a useless character like him. So that's the basic setup for the plot. Now Nick basically has to trek across the sprawling world of Galidor to rescue his 4 friends because he chose to duck instead of, I don't know, punching this doge in the face. I mean, what a guy. Despite what you just witnessed in the intro, Nick actually does have some abilities at his disposal. The game is a pretty standard collectathon platformer, so Nick has your typical run, jump, and basic attack, which is a slide move in this case, as well as a ledge grab, which is kind of nice, you know, when it actually works properly. While these should be your essential tools of traversal, they all feel pretty awful to use, and controlling Nick is nothing short of a goddamn nightmare. Seriously, I feel like a mother trying to force her angsty teenage son to go take out the trash. Like, you have to push, poke, and prod Nick just to get him moving. Even walking in this game is a pain because Nick has this little slide at the end of his walking animation, so you'd better be extra careful when coming to a stop near a ledge because otherwise you'll slide right off to your death. Why can't you just stop moving when you take your hands off the controls? There's no point to this slide other than being a general nuisance. No one in real life just walks around and then decides to add a little slide at the end of their stop. Well, unless you're that dweeby cool kid with the Heelys. Nick's also got one hell of a wonky jump. It's floaty, unresponsive, and practically impossible to time in some instances because you have to hold the directional pad first, then press the jump button. If you do it the other way around, he won't have enough momentum to propel himself forward and he'll just jump straight up. And everyone knows that when Nicks go up, they're gonna come right back down. This stupid mechanic had me dying left and right. It's just so backwards, and honestly, it's kind of unacceptable for a platformer to have such bad platforming controls. I mean, good lord. You literally have to make sure Nick is in the running animation before jumping, because if you don't, it's like the game physics just give up and break. It probably sounds like I'm crazy, but it's seriously one of those things you just have to feel to truly understand how gross it is. But hey, at least Nick can do this. And like I previously mentioned, Nick also has a ledge grab, which sounds nice in concept, but it ultimately proves to be more of a hassle, especially when paired with the infuriating jumping mechanics. There's a definite sweet spot on each platform that you need to line Nick up with for the grab to work as intended, but half the time it just seems like you glitch right through it. Or should I say, glinch. In the show, Nick's primary power set comes from glinching, so it makes total sense that Nick's uncanny knack to steal the limbs of Galidor's creatures would serve as one of the main gameplay features. It wouldn't be a platformer without some cool power-ups, am I right? So Nick can have 2 glinch abilities active at one time, and each can be toggled on via the shoulder buttons. However, these power-ups have a limited timer in which you can use them, so if the time runs out on one of them, you have to either find another power-up spot later in the level, or backtrack to one of the previous drop points. At first, I thought it was kind of stupid that these were on a timer, but I guess this sense of urgency does help with the pacing of each level a bit, since you're trying to get as much done as you can while you still have the power activated. There is one glaring problem with these power-ups though. They all suck. Now, I've played a lot of video games in my day, and it was my understanding that power-ups were meant to make you feel powered up. But here, each of these so-called abilities actually come with their own set of problems. Yes, they aid in helping you traverse the levels and reach the goal, but most of them control worse than Nick usually does by himself. Let's take a look and see what Nick has in the old arsenal, shall we? We'll start simple with the Power Punch. Pretty self-explanatory. It's a powerful punch that can be used to punch enemies or break certain walls. Not that exciting, honestly, and you don't really use it that often. It has some really annoying wind-up delay too, so that when you want to use it on an enemy, you almost always time it wrong and end up taking damage. Woo. Next, there's the Amphib Jump, or the frog legs as I like to call them. In addition to gaining a higher jump, Nick also gets another impossible to time attack, only with this one, it's a lunging kick move. I actually hate this power up with a passion, and I would deactivate it the moment I no longer needed it to progress. Now these frog legs are super annoying to use because Nick's normal walk is replaced with this weird hopping animation, and it makes him move a set distance with each step. So you have to be even more careful next to edges. Since you have less freedom of how far you want to move, you basically have to do math in your head to make sure you don't overstep and plummet to your death. The pixel perfect nature of this power-up is truly frustrating during precise platforming segments involving smaller moving platforms. After so much bullshit like this and several embarrassing fits of rage, I eventually decided that the Amphib Jump wasn't worth the pain, and I actually preferred Nick's normal methods of movements to counting pixels every time I want to move. Then there are the Aqua Fins, which allows Nick to swim underwater. Exciting! Surprisingly, they actually control as you'd expect. Just point the D-pad in the direction you want to go, and Nick will use his gross, mutated limbs to gracefully move through the water like a fish living next to a nuclear power plant. I mean, he looks like he was caught mid-transition on one of those Animorph book covers. By pressing the attack button, you can also charge forward to break underwater walls or destroy ugly water-dwelling foes. The speed boost is actually incredibly useful for navigating the water segments in record time, especially since the glinches happen to be on a timer. You really don't want to be caught in the water when the fins run out, as it'll result in an instant death. The momentum of the boost move also helps you reach higher ledges that are otherwise inaccessible, though once you touch dry land, the fins will disappear. Ever wish you could just strap jet engines to your arms and soar through the skies like a guy with jet engines for arms? No? Yeah, me neither. Enter the Power Wings. This ridiculous glinch ability lets you fly around the stage to your heart's content, though usually there are plenty of obstacles to prevent these flying sections from being too fun. Oddly enough, these bad boys are the only power-up I actually enjoyed using, and using them to maneuver around the stages was significantly less annoying than I expected. Movement is pretty straightforward. You just press the B button to gain altitude and release it to descend. It feels pretty natural, and the animations for using these are strikingly realistic to boot. This one's my favorite. Here's the Energizer. It's basically just a laser gun. You can use it to shoot laser blasts at enemies, and it can blast out these laser walls for some reason. Charge it up like Samus's own arm cannon, and you'll be able to shoot down these red laser walls. Neat, right? Yeah, they're kinda lame. And finally, there's the grapple hook, which can go burn in the 7 layers of hell. This thing is clearly meant to make traversal easier, but it's honestly one of the worst abilities ever put in a video game. Imagine a clunkier version of Samus's own grapple beam, except that every time you fire it off, you have to get down on your knees and pray that it actually goes where you want it to go and actually attaches itself to the object you pointed it at. This thing is reason enough why no one should ever pick up this game. Firstly, if you shoot it straight forward, the camera follows it instead of you, which totally screws up the camera. Oh yeah, and it can't attach to walls, only ceilings. So don't ever fire it forward. Like, why is that even an option? Once you actually get the damn thing to connect with the ceiling, you can raise and lower the chain and swing back and forth slightly, but doing so really doesn't give you any momentum whatsoever. And more often than not, you'll have to swing yourself, let go, aim at the ceiling again, hope for the love of God that it actually latches on, and then repeat this process multiple times until you traverse the gap. Oh, and be super careful when using it midair, because while you wait for the chain to extend, Nick will continue to plummet downwards, meaning that the chain most likely won't even reach its destination before you fall into the hole, and you'll die. See a trend here? Grapple hook equals death. I cannot stress enough how abysmal the controls for this are. And guess what? This is the power-up you get to use the most. Also, the game usually forces you to jump off a ledge with your grapple hook and wants you to aim up at a platform that's just ever so slightly off screen. So good luck with that. Do I kill myself now or now? This is the perfect segue into talking about the level design and the game's structure. The first 3 platforming stages of each world are pretty standard collectathon fare. You navigate the world by platforming and dodging enemies, all the while collecting these weird goo capsules containing quarium. If you happen to collect all 100 of these quarium capsules hidden throughout the stage, you get some reward, though I doubt anyone would have the patience for that. Basically, the only thing you need to collect to progress are these Galidor key thingies that let you enter the egg ship at the end of the level. The level design in this game is pretty atrocious though, with levels often being too samey, with little to no landmarks to help you understand where the hell you are or where you should be going. It was just so confusing sometimes, and there's no map either, so have your headache medicine at the ready because these featureless mazes will definitely have your brain working overtime. And none of these worlds are that visually interesting either. You've got boring desert world, annoying tree world, blue factory world, ice world, garbage world. Well, that one's kinda new. They all play basically the same, just with different textures on the platforms. There's no unique mechanics or gimmicks to any of these levels, and it's honestly kinda pathetic. Who wants to play a bunch of copy-paste bullshit? Remember how in the original Sonic the Hedgehog there were these multiple paths that you could take to reach the finish? And how fun it was to explore these different routes to figure out the fastest way to reach the goal, or what little secrets you can find? Well, this game is the exact opposite of that. Exploration is normally one of my favorite aspects of video games, and I had absolutely no desire to do any exploration in this game. Like, all I wanted to do was reach the end as fast as possible. Plus, the few times I did veer off the main path, the only things to collect were more of these dumb orange Faygo cans. I mean, do I look like a juggalo to you, game?
Magnets, how do they work?
None of these main levels are fun at all. They're riddled with all kinds of bullshit. Slides that lead straight into spikes, rotating platforms, leaps of faith to platforms that you're somehow supposed to know exist off screen. And did I mention that there are usually only 5 or 6 checkpoints in each level? So yeah, have fun making up 10 minutes of your hard work over and over again because your stupid grapple hook decided not to work. To add insult to injury, the game has a nerve to score you on your time at the end of each level too. Way too slow. I'm sorry, maybe I would have done better if these levels weren't designed by monkeys. The 4th level in each world are these weird vehicle segments where Nick is placed on a shark bike or a hoverboard and has to make it to the end before the time runs out. These levels are pretty easy, but they aren't really fun either. All you do is move Nick around, collect more things, watch out for obstacles before the glitch timer runs out. Though this one that takes place in the sewer can f*** off because it controls like butt. Moving left and right around a circular space is a terrible idea. And why on earth would I want to use a boost power up here? I'm not Thanos, I'm not in love with death, okay? That's a little joke for you comic book nerds out there. You'd think that with how challenging the standard platforming levels are, that the bosses in Galidor would be on the same level as Mega Man or something, but in reality, most of them are laughably easy and they all go down like chumps. That is, once you decipher what the hell you're actually supposed to do to defeat them. This first guy, for example, all you have to do is jump around with the frog legs, punch a couple mirror things, and then he basically kills himself? Okay. Then there's Yondu's buff brother who just stands in the middle of his battle stage hurling snowballs at you while you just swim underneath him, subsequently avoiding all his attacks and giving you the perfect opportunity to shoot the icicles above his head. Just do this 3 times until he dies. Cool. On the other hand of this cryptic spectrum, there's this deformed mammoth guy named Tagger, I don't know, whom you can only hurt by using the grappling hook to pull out random parts of the ceiling? Like, how was I supposed to know to do that? Also, Bala here seemed to be as hard as Bala balls at first, since I couldn't figure out the proper way to take him down. So his boss fight gives you the power wings, which makes you think, I guess I'll be needing this to stop him. Maybe I should fly over him and possibly use these lasers to take him down? Nope. Just stand still, wait for him to shoot his little grapple thingy, then slide into him while he's vulnerable doing his own slide move. Oh, I'm sorry. What the actual fuck? Again, why give the player a power-up if it makes the battle harder? The only reason the lasers are even included here are to electrocute sorry saps like myself dumb enough to actually use this stupid jetpack thing. Once you defeat these goons who look like they were designed by Sid from Toy Story and rescue your friends, it's now time for you to face Galidor's big bad, Gorm.
What's a gorm?
He's a multi-phase boss fight that requires you to use all your glitch powers to take him down. And I'm gonna be completely honest here, I could not for the life of me beat this guy. First of all, Gorm has this dumb bat attack, which is basically impossible to dodge. Plus, if you die in one of the later phases, of course you get to start all the way over. I got to the second phase, which requires you to use the aqua fins to leap out of the water, then switch midair to the energizer to shoot these wires above Gorm's head, but I could not get this to work. For some reason, the boost was not launching me high enough to reach the wires, and I just kept getting hit by his stupid bat attacks or his trash magnetization powers. It was in this moment, as Gorm's bats carried me away for the zillionth time, that I realized I actually don't give a rat's ass about this game. Fuck Galidor, this planet sucks. If Gorm wants it so bad, he can have it. You want my glitch powers too, almighty Gorm? Psh, go ahead. Good luck trying to get that grapple hook to work. So if you watched this whole review hoping to know the outcome of Galidor for GBA, I guess you'll just have to play it yourself to know how it ends. But you better be prepared for one of the most frustrating games ever created. When I chose to do this review, I honestly thought it would just be a fun little romp through an obscure GBA game. But boy, I was not mentally prepared for this. No joke, I played most of this game in one sitting, and I felt physically ill for 2 days afterwards. And I'm not usually the type to get motion sickness, but damn, this game fucked me up big time, and it took me an entire day to recover from the feeling that I might puke at any moment. Maybe it was my own fault for trying to complete it all in one go, but still, Galidor will forever be known as the game that broke me. Now, I'm gonna go lay down because all this talk of Galidor is starting to make me feel woozy again. So I'll see you guys in the next video.